Well, here, and then I'll get dressed.
Oh, pretty good.
She's got her
All right.
glasses up, so she's good.
You know, maybe that's the reason you only lasted on the frontier for a couple of years.
It looks like you have red hair and a turd on your head. It looks like a skeleton thing. Like, it's just weird. It's very bizarre. I prefer Ginger's. She just
It's
looks
a dollar
like
item,
she has
yes.
a major comb over.
Does this make it feel any better?
Where
You know,
there's
that
the
was-
Yeah,
tail.
wear it on the side
It's a
like
little
that. That's
fake
good.
tail.
If you want a Fess Parker joke, I love it. He loved this joke when people came to the
What was
set.
it?
Because you know why they wore coonskin caps? It's so they never got lost in the wilderness. They always knew where they were going because they would get up and they would see the sun and they were going to go, okay, that way's north. So if I'm going this way, I'm going north. If I'm going this way, I'm going east. If I'm going that way, I'm going west. And if I go this way, I'm going the wrong way.
Oh, that's terrible. And that was Bess's favorite joke. Oh, God. Of course. Oh, I think I'll have another sip of my cocktail here.
I think you should. Well, here, thank you for coming back. Nice to see you, sis.
It's been quite a while. I didn't realize it was since September that we last chatted with you.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
been a while.
And,
You've
and
been
we're
a
going to
busy
do the
girl.
thing in Kanab.
And you've been a busy girl. I know you did The Good Doctor.
I did. That was on a couple weeks ago. And if
And
anybody has Hulu, it's season 4, chapter 16.
there you go.
There we go.
The technology goes. You plug it in.
Oh, and also apparently because it's Pride Month, I have an on-demand movie called Straight Jacket, which we did a number of years ago, which you can get on demand. It's hysterically funny. And it's going to be at the New Art on the 25th in Los Angeles.
Okay, are you going to be there at the new one?
I will. I'll be there. I haven't gotten any information on the tickets yet, but I will be there.
All right. Well, that's fun.
A lot of fun.
Uh-huh.
Silly movie. It really is silly. It's very silly, but it's really fun.
Are you going to do a Q&A at it as well?
Yes,
or
we
the-
are. We're going to do a Q&A as well. Yeah, and it was funny because everybody who was gay was straight in the movie, and everybody who played straight in the movie was gay, except for Carrie Preston. You know, Carrie. She's on Claws, and she was Ellsworth on Good Wife, and her husband is Michael Emerson, and he plays the butler in it, the gay butler, and Matt Lesher. He plays like a Rock Hudson type. It's set in, that era when Rock Hudson had a beard, a female who was his beard because he was gay.
Not,
Please.
not a beard,
I'm
but
sorry.
a person that's a beard.
Beard. A person that is.
Veronica, please, you're shocking Hollywood.
I'm
now.
so
How
sorry.
can
And
you
we're starting
say
out, no wonder it's called Straight Jacket. Okay, are we going? Are we?
So this whole episode, I want you to know, I tried to track down Fabian.
You did?
Yeah, so we could have a
No avail?
conversation about this. I got leads to his agent and his manager and everybody else, and people that tried to reach out, but no, we didn't get him. I think he's afraid to talk about when he came on and gave you your first kiss on screen.
On screen, yes, at 16. I hadn't even graduated high school yet. So he gives me this big kiss with his tongue down my throat. I just, and they're going, no, Fabian, you can't do that. It's a 7:00 at night show. You can't do that. And he goes, oh, okay. Well, I don't know how many takes we took, but we took quite a few. But the whole crew, they were terrible to me. I come out after embarrassed anyway, because I'd never been kissed like that before. I don't think I'd even kissed anybody before. And my chair was gone, and I'm looking around for my chair, and the guys had hidden it up in the rafters. It was hanging above my head, and then they put weights in my purse so that when I went to pick up my purse, I couldn't pick it up. And oh, you're so weak. It must have been after kissing Fabian. Oh, they were awful.
I think they were just
It was all good
jealous.
natured. It was all good natured. I could probably, get him for some sort of abuse now in this day and age. But at the time, didn't know. And I thought, well, this is okay. He was a good 12 years older than I am.
Now they have the counselors on camera, right on set.
Oh, they do?
Yes, if there's any kind of kissing or nudity or anything, they have counselors there.
Sensitivity trainers or sensitivity
that
officers or something.
Well, I've done quite a few things where I haven't had my clothes on, and there was no sensitivity person there at that time.
Well, that's new.
You and me both.
I did a porn movie called Inserts. It wasn't porn, but it was, well, it got
wait. I'm just finding out about my sister. Excuse me. What was it called?
It's called Inserts. It was with Richard Dreyfuss, and it was X-rated at the time. And then it was since later, it's been changed to NC-17. It was Jessica Harper and Bob Hoskins' first movie. And oh yeah.
And you did it with Ricky, because I saw one of the times I got to see you after the show, you were doing a play with Richard.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, I did a play with Richard. I did Hands of His Enemy, which was the person who wrote Children of a Lesser God, Mark Medoff, wrote this for Phyllis Fralick, who is deaf. And this was another deaf play. And Richard plays a director of a play, and it was a play within a play. And the reason Phyllis lost her sense of being able to hear or speak was because she was traumatized as a child watching her mother shoot her father in the head. And I was playing her mother within the play. And then actually Mark Medoff's own daughter played the daughter in the play. Oh. And I shot Jeffrey Tambor in the back of the head for 6 months. So that was something. 8 shows a week. It's a traumatic piece, let me tell you.
Oh, I remember I came and thought it was great seeing you guys. No, that was.
Yeah, I came down the stairs and you go, "You don't know who I am, do you?" And I go, "No." He goes, "Well, I'm Darby Hinton. I was your brother." I mean, all of a sudden, you were totally grown up. The last time I saw you, you were like 9 years old. So.
Well, and that was one of the original ones. Hold on, I found this picture. Share. One of 2 of your original brothers.
Oh, yes. He was in the pilot.
That's right. And this was like for the comic books and all the press releases went out that this was going to be Daniel Boone's family.
Oh, I don't even have that picture.
Oh, well, I got a lot.
Maybe we can do something in Kanab. We could track down that other character. He was only in the pilot, though.
We've never tried. I'd almost feel bad doing it for him because I stole it. He was.
I don't even know what his name was. I don't remember that I had 2 kids until I saw the pilot. But
right.
I didn't have the 2 kids. My mother had the 2 kids.
And then even when we shot the pilot, even when we shot the pilot, if you remember, because we shot this as one of the first scenes,
right?
Is he sharing it? Here the Boone family is walking out arm in arm, and there's that other kid again.
But your name wasn't Israel, right? Wasn't the other kid Israel and you were Nathan?
Right. That was Israel and I was Nathan. And all the way up into where I pulled out the flaming arrow and, saved the fort. Right then and there, George Marshall. Remember George Marshall?
I do remember George.
He was one of those old time directors. My name changed over
the pilot.
And that poor kid. I
guess whatever happened to him.
I
have no idea. Okay. All righty. Well, let's see what other tidbits we can talk about.
Well,
Well, all right. As a result of doing this show, The First Kiss, and then there was Robert Logan, wasn't that his name, who came in after?
right?
He's actually, I think, in this episode too.
Oh, is he? He's in this episode? Well, then maybe this isn't the one with Fabian.
No, Fabian's in it too.
Oh, he
Fabian
is?
comes and goes, but
Oh.
Daniel's out of town, and there's this young man that's.
Well, I know I was pursued by both
Here's-
Robert Logan.
There's
Yeah.
Robert Logan, not a bad looking guy either.
No, not a bad looking guy either. But what happened after this, I was what, 16, 17 years old. Pat Blair refused to sign her contract if I was invited back. And we kept calling to find out why my contract hadn't been renewed. And where was the contract? Because we knew that I should be there. And it turned out that Pat had said she wouldn't renew her contract because I was making her look old. And they were writing too many stories where I had too many boyfriends. So there you have it. Darby had always heard that it was because I probably was asking for more money.
Oh,
I
that's
was
what was
17.
told. That's what was
That
told
is
to my
total-
mom, and yeah.
Well, it was totally ridiculous because I was 17. So I didn't even work again until I was like 20 because I had to have a school teacher. Wasn't 18 yet. I looked too young to be older and too old to look, younger. It was really sad. All because of lovely Pat Blair.
I remember that age well, where they
Yes,
can
it's
get
a
the kid.
horrible age. You don't know, you can't get anything. I mean,
And let's
you look-
explain it. Let's explain it why people don't know. Because as a kid, you have to have a welfare teacher on the set. You have to go to school. You have less hours,
Mhm.
bigger meal penalties, everything. So if you get somebody that's over 18 that can play younger, Johnny Depp in Jump Street, that's who you go, and that's who gets it. And if you're really under 18 and
It's impossible. I mean,
yeah,
I mean, so why would I have asked for more money? I mean, I was on a series, for crying out loud. What, I'm going to jeopardize I didn't work after that.
it's so fun. And that's one of the questions I got all the time. I still get today. Whatever happened to Jemima? Where? And we
And they
try to
never
think-
even wrote me out. They
no,
never mentioned that I had gone off to college or anything.
that's
I mean,
the biggest rumor was you went off to college. I know, but they didn't even bother to say it. That was another like, oh my goodness, don't talk money. You're out, and they don't even tell you why.
well, that wasn't it at all. And I
So-
ran into Pat one day at the unemployment office, believe it or not. That wasn't bizarre. I went, oh, Pat Blair.
Did you say hi to mom?
Hi. And she wasn't even working anymore. She'd retired. She lived on that houseboat down there with her whippets and her very wealthy husband.
Yes, and then moved back to New York and became kind of a hermit.
Yeah, I don't think she ever did anything after the 4 more years of Daniel Boone. Any other questions from the participants?
Yeah,
while
there
we're
we go.
waiting?
Let's see. We have Q&As. We have 2 Q&As. Let's see. I'm wearing my glasses, so I'll be able to see. Good to
Yes,
see
I've
you
got
again,
mine
Veronica.
on.
Mine. Want to know what it was like kissing Fabian? Well, that was the big question. You
Well,
were, and also you were
I think I
fantastic.
explained that. I had no idea what he was doing. I was 16. I had no idea. I'd never had anybody French kiss me before. I didn't know what the hell. And then, of course, the director is going, you can't do that. It's a 7 o'clock show. I don't know how many takes. I think it was several takes, 5, 6, 7 takes.
Oh, and you
To get
have
him to stop doing that.
and you have to remember that this is probably why he didn't want to come on, because a 24-year-old doing. But you have to remember too, it's not only your first kiss, but it's your first kiss with a camera and 30 guys standing around. From the rafters, like you say, looking down on you. The bright light
and
camera,
making
the
fun
strip
of
girl.
me because they knew I'd be totally embarrassed. I mean, the biggest thing that ever happened to me was Mark Swain, who was our cinematographer, used to go around. I happened to be very fair and had very long arm hair. And he used to grab my arm and go like this and twist it into knots. I mean, it was like they were a very humorous bunch. But the thing was, I mean, that was kind of shocking when they hid my chair and put weights into my purse, and I don't know, it was all very
and all on the same day, huh?
All on in the same week. I mean, or 4 or 5 days or however long it was to be shot.
Well, it was also suggested that since that was your first kiss there, then you also gave the beaver his first
Oh, well, that was, his first kiss. Yes. I just kissed him on the cheek, though. I was 9.
Oh, because I got to tell you, I was just with Jerry at the Hollywood Museum opening thing. And I told him, hey, I'm trying to get Fabian and all that because of the first kiss thing. Can I come on? Because Veronica, evidently gave you your first kiss. It's like 234 episodes. I don't remember anything. I'm like, you don't remember my sister giving you a kiss?
He came on as a surprise guest on a show, a radio show, and we talked about it. He came on as a surprise guest because I had given him his first kiss.
There you go.
But you see, it was weird because I played Violet, in several episodes, but I also played a Beverly, and in those days they didn't care if you were good, they would just call you up, and I played like 4 different characters in Leave It to Beaver.
Did you give him a different twist? Or
I guess I must have. I mean, but that one was Violet, and it was Lumpy's sister. I was Lumpy's sister, and Richard Dinkins was the father. He was, he had glasses, bespeckled. So he was the father who kept encouraging me, and we were fishing, and he goes, go on, kiss him on the cheek. It was like one of those, hi, here's Ginger, she's back.
Look who's back.
Good old Florida and hurricane season. We just took a major power hit and everything went black. And my husband got yelled at for it, even though he didn't do anything.
And you know what? Your lighting's different now because you look like you have a comb over with that coonskin cap.
You sure that's good? Oh, there you go. Put your glasses on. There's my tail.
I know.
And I took mine off in case, PETA came calling or anything.
I'd say Veronica's done all sorts of horror movies and worked with space creatures, and you've probably done everything, birds and all kinds of things.
Don't get birds
Darby's
around
hat
her. I know
scares
that.
you? I don't get it.
Don't start throwing seagulls at her. That brings back bad memories.
No, that's not a good one. That was the horrible remake they made where they had seagulls and pigeons, lots of pigeons.
Well, anyways, I have a feeling you carried on amongst yourselves, which is good. So
no, we just sat there and stared at each other, being the old ham.
But we were answering questions. We were having people to ask questions. So
I know these guys are pretty well trained, so that's good. We picked up a few more people in the meantime, so that's good.
So let's see the kiss.
All right, are we ready? All right. All right, well, this episode is called The First Beau. Its original air date was December 9th, 1965. It was written by Barry Trivers and it was directed by John Floria.
I think I worked with John Floria again.
Probably. He did a lot of shows in the 60s. So
tons of stuff. Yeah.
Anyway, I met him in his latter years. He was a nice old man. So this segment, we're going to combine the first two so that it's going to be 27:38. That'll bring us to the halfway mark in the show. And then we'll bring Veronica back to chat with her.
Sure.
In the meantime, make sure you turn off your microphone and turn off your camera.
Did you get a look at him?
One was a youngster. The other one I couldn't tell for sure.
What do we do now?
Well, I'm sorry, but I guess you're going to have to put on your boots and do what I'm doing. Walk.
I guess we better split up for the time being. I'll meet you in Boonesboro in a couple of days.
There should be some good pickings there.
Yeah, you look around good. See if you can find some likely galoot for us to fleece. And don't forget, when I get there to give you a hand, you never saw me before in your life.
See you in Boonesboro, stranger.
Daniel Boone. From the coonskin cap on the top of old Dan to the heel of his rawhide shoe, the rippin'est, roarin'est, fightin'est man the frontier ever knew. Daniel Boone was a man, yes, a big man, and he fought for America to make all Americans free. What a boom, what a doer, what a dream come truer was he.
Doing?
Oh, a good deed.
Sneaking up on a person like that? That's no good deed.
But I just saved your life. Did you ever hear the story of the ancient Greek who gazed into a pool and fell in love with his own beauty and turned into a statue?
I don't like people making fun of me.
Well, I wasn't. You're too pretty to turn into stone anyway.
And if I had a stone, I'd give you a clout you'd not soon forget.
I'd probably deserve it. I didn't mean to frighten you.
Oh, well, I wasn't scared. Takes more than a back-east stranger to spook me.
I'm sure it would. I'm from Boston. You know where that is?
Of course I know. We're not savages out here. I can read and write, and my pa's taught me plenty about the history of our country.
I'd like to meet him. My name is David Ellis. Do you live nearby?
In Boonesboro.
Oh, Daniel Boone settlement. Do you know him?
Well, might say we're on speaking terms.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And which way to Boonesboro?
Oh, it's straight up the road you're heading. Not more than 3 miles.
We made it, Marnie. We made it. Bless the Lord.
That's the way my pa always gives thanks to the Lord, in a loud, clear voice. Amen to that, Pa. Amen to that.
She's a young girl, isn't she, Marnie?
That she is, Pa. And she's got a handsome young fellow with her.
We come a long way, child. All the way from Philadelphia. I'm going to build me a house and open a business in Boonesboro.
A business?
I sell clocks, and I fix clocks.
But,
Well, blindness don't stop Pa. He can fix a clock like nothing you ever seen.
My hands, child, hands and fingers, they know the way. They have knowledge of their own. Yes, sir, I saved my money, and I'm going to open a shop here.
The first one we're going to talk to is Mr. Boone.
oh, he's not here. Well, I mean, he's not in Boonesboro.
Not here?
No, my father had to go to Salem on business. But he'll be back real soon.
Your father?
Yes, I'm Jemima Boone.
Halfway across this continent, and whom do we meet right off but a child of Daniel Boone? It's a sign, Marnie, a good sign.
It sure is something.
You brought that all the way from Philadelphia?
That's right, son. I'm a master craftsman, and I kept it ticking all the way down the trail.
But weren't you bothered by Indians?
When they saw my pa was blind, they were real kind.
I guess there's compensations for being like I am.
What's compensation?
It's something you get for something that's taken away.
Well, they're teaching the children real good in school nowadays.
I'm not a child, and the correct phrase for teaching is well, not good.
Thank you, Jemima, thank you.
Do it again, Mr. Tulson. Do it again.
Excuse me a minute, I'll be right back. What do you want?
Oh, I wanted to talk to Mr. Boone about work. I heard the voices and assumed he had guests. I looked and I was correct. My apologies, friend, all right? My apologies.
Daniel ain't here.
You call him by his first name. You must be friends.
Yeah, we're friends. He's in Salem.
Ah, just as well I didn't knock and disturb everybody. When will he return?
About a week.
I'll have to see him then. Will you accept my apologies, friend?
I accept your apologies.
Good night.
Pa was the finest clockmaker in the colonies. With big clocks, I think he still is. It's a remarkable skill. All we need is a piece of land and a cabin.
Marnie here? Well, she's got a green thumb in the garden, like I got a green thumb with clocks.
Could I see it?
See what, dear?
His green thumb.
Oh, that's just an expression, Israel.
One time I got my hand all full of red from picking berries. Is that the same thing?
No, it's not the same thing. The red hand is a fact, and the green thumb is a metaphor.
She's sure jumping tonight.
Mother, may I please go outside and get some fresh air?
I'll go with you. We'll go down by the creek and look for frogs.
You stay right where you are.
Jemima!
Mother, please, I just want to go outside and be alone for a while.
Very well. Please excuse her manners. She's acting very peculiar tonight.
Don't you know it's improper to scare a man like that?
Oh, I just saw you here, so I thought I'd get even.
Well, I'm glad you did. I was hoping you'd come out.
You certainly were staring at the window like a Halloween goblin. It's a good thing nobody else saw you.
Oh, someone else did, that Jericho fella.
Oh, so that's why he went out.
Oh, we were quite friendly. We even shook hands. I asked him about your father.
What for?
To inquire about work. Well, the settlement looks fascinating to me. It's beautiful.
This place? Oh, it's just rough cabins and plain people.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
You know, I don't altogether understand you. You're always talking in circles.
That's the way I move in my life, in circles.
Well, can't you ever talk straight about what you mean?
I mean, you're one of the most comely and charming girls I've ever seen. See what happens when I tell what I mean?
I'm a serious girl, Mr. Ellis. I don't go for trifling talk.
But I meant what I said.
Out here, words like yours don't slip off the tongue quite so easily. Real feelings. Well, they take time.
I suppose they do. What do you feel about me?
Well, I don't know you. And I haven't kept company with a boy before, so I don't know much about that either.
Well, I can't suffer too much by comparison, then.
You're better to look at than most I've seen.
Thanks. I have a feeling that won't be enough.
You must have a very low opinion of yourself.
I don't have any opinion at all. I can't afford one.
My father says, what a man thinks of himself is what he can become.
He's very observant.
Oh, he has to be. To stay alive in this wilderness.
This isn't the wilderness. The wilderness is back there in the cities.
Again, you're just saying words.
Bear with him. I'll only be here for a short time.
We do need more men here. You'd be welcome.
I usually overstay my welcome, Miss Boone.
Well, if you do stay, it's Jemima.
Jemima?
My nemesis. I better say goodnight.
What were you doing with him?
Talking?
Do you know him?
Of course I know him. We've met.
Now listen, Jemima, I don't trust him.
I don't recall asking whether you did or not.
Your pa asked me to look after things while he was away, and that's exactly what I'm gonna do.
Would you mind releasing me?
It was you he came looking for, wasn't it? And he said he came looking for a job.
You know something, Mr. Jericho Jones?
What?
I'm not a child. So you take care of your business, and I'll take care of mine.
Well, this is it, Sonny. This is the place a man can make for himself a new life. Especially a young man. A fellow like you. You got muscles, ain't you?
Yeah, I got muscles.
And gumption?
Especially gumption.
Well, that's all's needed then. You do a day's work and pull your own load, be a man or woman, young or old, you can make for yourself a brand new life.
Hear, hear. Have you got a job for me, Mr. Cincinnatus?
Well, I'd like to say yes, but I can't. I got a young fella working for me now. I reckon I ain't got no work here at all for you.
Good morning, Cincinnatus.
Morning, Becky. Mima.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You need something, Becky?
Indeed I do. A nice, strong man.
What for?
I found a cabin for the Tolsons. The old McNaughton place. You know, it's been empty for months, and I'm sure no one will mind if they move in. At least until we can have a cabin raising for them.
Well, the McNaughtons won't mind because they ain't coming back. When the Tolsons moving in?
This morning. I do have Jericho, but I'll need another man to help. You know, there's a wagon to unload and a cabin to clean and wood to chop.
Well, you get on back and get ready, and I'll see that somebody gets over to help you directly.
Thank you, Cincinnatus. Jemima.
Yes, ma'am?
We'll be going now. Good morning, Cincinnati.
Good morning.
Where's this McNaughton cabin?
Ought to warn you that this job is for love of labor and for helping friends. No pay is being handed out.
That's all right. I'll be working for just about the amount I'm worth.
Well, here it is, the McNaughton cabin. Welcome home, friend. I'll start unloading.
I understand you ladies need some help.
You still around?
Marnie, that's the young fellow we met on the trail yesterday.
That's right, Paul. The young man who was with Jemima.
You do need help, don't you? Mrs. Boone, you recall me. I was in the tavern when you came in. My name's David Ellis.
I'm sure we'd be most grateful for your help. Jericho, what would you like Mr. Ellis to do?
Chop wood. A home should have kindling and firewood. Stacks of it. Be a good day's job. Got the whole forest out there, boy. Go to it.
Well, if it's firewood you want, it's firewood you get. Nice to have met you, Mrs. Boone. Miss Boone?
It is curious.
What is, Ma?
Everyone seems to know that young man but me. Oh, well, let's get to work. Bring the brooms, Jemima.
Hello.
Hello.
I saw you come by with the wheelbarrow.
Did I impress you?
Well, I just came by to tell you that food will be ready soon. Oh, look at your hands. They're all raw and blistered.
Axe handles and I aren't exactly old friends.
Well, I'll go get something for them.
No, stay. Would you like to sit down? May I join you?
They're cooking deer stew.
That should be delicious.
Oh, it will be. It's my mother's own special recipe. I'm a fair cook myself, thanks to her.
Fair in many ways, thanks to her.
You've got nice broad shoulders and good bones.
Look, Jemima, why don't we just stop talking about me?
But I can't.
Try.
I don't want to.
But you only make me out to be somebody I'm not.
Well, you're not a violent man, are you?
No, I'm not. But, violence isn't the only sin.
You have others?
Plenty of others.
Can't be very bad.
Why not?
Because I like you. And I couldn't like anything that was really bad.
Listen to me. You shouldn't be troubling with someone like me.
But I am troubled. Don't you understand? I am troubled.
So am I, blasted. So am I.
Mima? It's time for you to set the table, dear.
Yes, I was just coming. Well, aren't you going to come?
I'll be along in a minute. Go ahead.
Well, I'd better be getting back to my work.
Oh, David, don't run away. I was hoping we could have a little chat.
All right.
Where's your home, David?
It was Boston.
Oh? Do your people still live there?
Well, my father was a banker until the bank failed. Then my mother died several months later. I left Boston shortly after that. Is that what you wanted to know, Mrs. Boone?
I'm sorry, David. You have had a hard time, haven't you?
Forgive me, Mrs. Boone, but I'd rather not discuss it.
You know, David, it makes no difference whether it's Boston or the wilderness. Young people can be hurt anywhere. You won't forget that, will you?
I won't forget it, Mrs. Boone. Now I better be getting back to my work.
We'll be eating shortly. Why don't you wash up and come inside?
Afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Name's Kravick, Mike Kravick. I've been working my way across country headed to Boonesboro. I don't mean to disturb you.
You're not disturbing me. I'm Mrs. Daniel Boone.
Dan Boone's missus. Well, now, this is a pleasure.
Oh, and this is David Ellis.
I'm pleased to meet you, too, son. Ma'am, I'm wondering, seeing as I'm feeling kind of tired and hot and dusty, you could spare a man a drink of pure water?
Well, of course. David, will you show Mr. Kravitt the well? And the road to Boonesboro is right down that road.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you kindly. Well, partner, how's the pickings here?
There's nothing, Mike.
Nothing? Oh, come on, boy. This is old Mike you're talking to. I can just hear the coins a-jingling in this air.
Mike?
Yeah?
We're going on. Out of here.
Oh, you're trying to hurry me out, huh? I'll tell you, boy, we'll move out just as soon as we get ourselves a big, fat poke. Because there's got to be money here. Now, I'm going to find that well. I got myself a powerful thirst.
They're going to be pretty curtains. They're sure going to be pretty.
Well, a new home should be more than just 4 walls. It should have pretty curtains.
Why, Mima, you talk as though you're planning a home of your own.
You're still working at that door. You sure take all the easy jobs, don't you?
Any job you take would be hard. even blowing feathers.
Who's there?
It's me, Mr. Tolson, David Ellis.
It's the garden, isn't it?
That's right.
I'm just standing here listening.
To what, Mr. Tolson?
To life. To the life that's coming. You can hear it, boy, in the wind, in the sound of the birds, and the sound of the bees. And it's good, this life that's coming. It's good. This place, it's right on the road into Boonesboro, right?
Smack on it, sir.
I'm going to make me a sign. A big sign. Painted like a work of art. Tolson's Clockworks. That's what'll be on the sign. It'll announce my shop and my business.
How old are you, Mr. Tolson?
Well, lad, I won't see 70 anymore. But I'm like a clock. You take care of it, and it goes ticking on. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Tolson, Tolson. You see, we're the same. How old are you, son?
Well, I shan't see 20 again.
But you got a long way to 25.
Long way.
How would you like to learn the clock trade? Become a master mechanic in the mysteries of gears and springs?
You offer me a trade, sir?
Aye, and a respectable one.
But why, sir? You don't know me.
Because I like the sound of you. There's kindness, there's education and wit. You can be my apprentice, David. I'll teach you all I know.
There's more kindness in you, Mr. Tolson.
And you are looking for a new life, aren't you, boy?
What?
Everyone is always surprised at how much the blind can see. Well, you think about it. All right? You'll think about it.
I'll think about it, sir.
My goodness, I don't remember any of this. Oh, heavens, Betsy. Oh, heavens to Betsy. And why would I have asked for more money? What about the billing? I mean, Robert Logan, what was his character? I thought he was a boyfriend at one point.
He was. That's why he was so jealous, because he was also always
But
looking
wasn't he a boyfriend later on or something? But he got great billing. And where the hell's we don't get billing. Was it because we were youngsters? And isn't that famous actor Javits or something like that who's playing the blind man? He was famous.
He's great.
Yeah, I mean,
I gotta say, there's some good-looking people in Boonesboro. That's all.
There certainly are. I tell you, I had no idea. I seem so relaxed around Fabian for 16, don't I? I seem very relaxed.
You didn't seem to be fighting it, I must say.
Either that or it came and I just went, oh, all right, this is what it's about.
Remember, you're getting paid to do this.
Oh my goodness. Well, he was quite handsome, wasn't he?
They did leave his shirt off a lot there in the end.
Yeah, and that belt, the size of the belt. What was the belt size? It was like, what was he, a heavy lifter?
It was I Dream of Jeannie size, above the belly button. You know, it was network above the belly button.
But it was huge. He's right. It was like 5 inches wide. It was like.
Did you notice how they made his jacket, his fringe jacket? They cut all of the fringes off on the back. I guess that was because he lay down a lot. I have no idea. Look at it next time. There's fringe on the sides, and the back has like 1 inch fringe going across the back.
All right, Pamela Pavkovich said Sam Jaffe played the blind man.
Sam Jaffe. Yes. Oh, he was a wonderful actor, Sam Jaffe. Yes, he was great. I mean, the people that we had on our show, but who played the other character, the other than Fabian, that other guy, Mike.
The other guy on the horse.
Yeah. Who was that? He looked very
Come on, Darby's darlings, chime in here. Somebody look it up on IMDb.
He looked very familiar. But I can see why Pat Blair got upset.
And I must say, you did not look. Now, 16 or 17?
I was 16.
16.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked it up, and he was 22.
Oh, he was only 22?
Well, according to his year he was born on IMDb, if he told the truth.
I think maybe Pat was more upset because she liked Fabian, and how dare you?
Yeah, I mean, I made her look old. I mean, for crying out loud. She was, I mean, she didn't get upset over Robert Logan, just over the fact that I liked Fabian. Have we come to this yet?
I think she liked Fabian, and then she figured out how many. This is
only episode 12. In those days, we did 24 episodes, so I was on for another 14 episodes.
Oh.
Right? No. Was 12.
Well, give or take, however they did the episodes and who was in them, right?
Yeah, no, but another at least 12 episodes we did after that. So, I mean, I had that one thing called The Chosen. I remember that, where I was kidnapped by those guys and I was in a cave. And then I remember I had some sort of a relationship with some guy who had red hair. Who was that? Rourke. Somebody Rourke. I mean, he must have really gotten upset because I got tongued by a lot of people.
Well, I mean, it's not like they can have them coming on to Mrs. Boone, you know, while Daniel's away. Oh, yeah. 2 weeks?
Oh, wow.
Well, he did have 11 kids, so, you know, I don't know.
God. And Jemima was the one who was with him till the day he fucking died.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. That was rude.
Beep. Oh, sorry.
And do you know he used to get in his own coffin and he knew exactly where he wanted to be buried and everything else, but you're absolutely right. She was the one that stayed in Boonesboro too and waited for him.
She went off to college and then she came back and she's the only one who stayed with him until the day he died. I mean.
And a lot of people question whether she was really his daughter.
Really?
Well, because that's when he was gone and captured for over 2 years by the Indians. So some people say the dates don't listen. They can't even decide exactly where he's buried. There's two.
Well, then why did she bother to come back? I mean, why would she bother to go to college? She went to college. She was really well educated. Why would she come back if it wasn't her real dad?
I don't know. Well, they obviously had a
guilt
relation.
I don't know. They always say follow the money. So, you know, maybe he was rich.
Look, Israel was killed, giving him his horse and getting dragged off to a battle that Daniel didn't want to go to, told everybody, no, don't go over there. There's a lot of Indians over there and it's not good. And then and they said, well, you're a chicken. And, you know, what do you mean I'm a chicken? And the day they went, Israel had a cold and was in bed, but they're like, come on, you got to fight. And then he was killed trying to get his dad out of there, because they did. They got ambushed by all the Indians as soon as they crossed the Blue Licks.
Wow.
So there you go.
How interesting. It's such a fascinating period of time, but I didn't know he had 11 kids.
One of his sons was killed and tortured by an Indian that he had in his home and had welcomed as a guest. And then they found him later on the trail, and he had taken the son and it's very interesting. The real stories there.
I'm really glad this show didn't follow that history then. Happier times.
We didn't follow history very well. Now, this is the real Boonesboro behind Ginger, right? That's the real Boonesboro.
That's the real Boonesboro?
That is Fort Boonesboro, because I missed Fort Boonesboro because we've been going rogue on all these other watch parties. I missed my hometown of Fort Boonesboro.
But the one we shot at, rebuilt it, was in Kanab, Utah.
Well, no.
If any of you want to come out in August, what is it, August 23rd? Yeah.
26th to the 28th.
26th to the 28th, that's right. Darby and I are going to be there signing pictures and hanging out and singing and going to the rodeo.
My whole family, a lot of these darlings, I'm hoping are going to show up there. We're going to have a fun
That'd be great. It'd be really fun.
Yeah, it will.
Any questions from anybody up at this point?
Well, Karen Silverstein said Myron Healy was that other bad guy that you were asking about.
Healy. Oh, I don't know.
Fabian's partner, whoever that other guy was on the horse.
Myron Healy, I don't recognize.
He did a lot of television. He did a lot.
Yeah, he looks very familiar, but we don't know everybody. I didn't even remember that. I thought to myself, geez, what a lot of dialogue I had, huh? Oh, heavens. I mean,
so you don't remember like preparing
thing, aren't I?
Do you remember preparing, like when they approached you and said, here's the script and here's what it's going to be about?
No, I mean, I'd already done a year. I mean, we'd done a year already, and this was the second year. I mean, I remember I guess I just worked on them and went in and shot. Isn't that what we did?
Yeah. Now you were old enough to read the script yourself and go over it. Did your mom or dad or anybody get involved?
Yeah, and my mom would help me, and we'd, go over dialogue and stuff. But I mean, we were sort of, if you think about it, sort of on a very tight schedule. I mean, you didn't have much. What I thought was hysterical, though, was when the Fabian and the other guy, they come along and they knock Daniel over. He does a spin job and falls into our fake tree. I thought that was hysterical. It wasn't a fake tree. They had real trees, but they were all on a soundstage. But did they ride off on the soundstage? It didn't look like a soundstage.
You know what? I was talking to Ted White, and I said to him at a lunch thing, because we didn't have many horses on the show. And he looked at me sideways and said, what do you mean we didn't have many horses? I said, no, well, Daniel was always walking and, he goes, no, we had a lot. And a lot of them were his horses. And I'm sure that was Ted driving the horse, driving the horse. There's a real cowboy for you.
Hey, it looked like Fabian, didn't it? It looked like Fabian was riding off. How much have you had to drink?
Well, we're only halfway through the show here. Here. Okay, wait a minute.
And we must have shot a lot of that out on the 20th Century Fox lot, down there by the lake and stuff like that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that was so we must have shot in the summer, that show, because we only used to go to the 20th lot and shoot like scenes in the cave, or we must have shot several shows out there on the ranch, the Fox Ranch.
No, we did, which is now Malibu Creek, right?
Right. And we used to shoot, I guess, several shows and then come back and then do fillers in at because we didn't go out there for very long.
As the show went on, we would be in and out of there a lot, but I got to show you a picture that I love. This is, okay, we're sharing.
Oh, I have this, yeah.
Okay, but you have this one because a lot of people, I don't know if you can see my pointer, but look lower left. and you will see where Boonesboro ends and Sunset and Western Studios begin.
Oh, I thought it was Santa Monica and Santa Monica.
Santa Monica and Western.
Santa Monica and Western.
But I love it where the backdrop.
I love that, don't you? Where they have the backdrop and then, yeah.
I somehow found that picture because whenever I've seen it before, it's been cropped, so you didn't see it. I'm like, no. Because everybody's always, where did you go to film?
Oh yeah, well, it was a back lot, but it looks good in the color. I mean, I guess the second season was the first season in color?
No.
Just the pilot in black and white? No, the first season was in black and white. But the color looks good unless they've done something.
We were one of the first shows that NBC actually did color. Yeah. There you go. There's your Boone trivia.
Did you used to go to the Women's Association over on the next street over? It was like a block down, and we would go and have lunch, and we would always be wearing our costumes. Did you ever go over there?
So what was
it? Your mother? It was the Women's League Association.
It sounds like, if I was going off with the guys.
And you had a little gift shop, and you'd go, and it was like a dining room, and they'd have tablecloths. It is still there. And you'd go in and we would have lunch there every once in a while. And I'd be in full costume when we go over there.
Wait a minute, you would walk there, was all like around the corner?
It was across Western onto the next block and like a half a way down the next block over. And I don't know, my mother discovered it and we used to go over there when we had longer lunches.
If it is still there, I would love to take you for a lunch there.
Okay. Yeah.
That would be fun.
The Women's
Association.
I
know there were some questionable areas in that part of Hollywood.
I know, but I can't believe my mother decided that she would go. I don't know. My mother was kind of brave.
I always went to the cafeteria that was below the deluxe lab.
Yes.
They had that deli cafeteria that had the best pastrami sandwiches. But it was behind the gates and locked in, it was in the lot. So
yeah,
I was free to go.
To eat there too.
Yeah,
well, if it's called the Women's Association, I think Veronica has to take Darby. I don't think Darby can take you, can he?
Oh, you can. You can get gentlemen were invited.
Well, then Darby, definitely, you're going to have to take him. He can't take you.
Is that like lingerie that, they used to give the menu to the woman without any of the prices?
Oh, without any of the prices.
And then only the guy had the prices, and then Ulrich came in and sued them, and now they have to give the prices to the ladies too. Yes. I don't know why we gave a plug for them, but there you go. All right. Should we see?
Must have been a wifey thing.
Should we see this young Boone girl seduce the...
Are you ready, Veronica? Are you getting tingly remembering this?
Well, if I could just run for 1 second to the restroom, because I don't want to miss anything. Hang on 1 second.
Make sure you turn your microphone off.
We have the technology.
Let's see, my power goes out. She's got to... I'll cut all this out. Don't worry. I'll fix it in post.
Oh, no, you won't. You know it.
Well, while we're here, just so everybody knows, so it was the Western Legends Roundup that Veronica was talking about earlier, and that is in Kanab from Thursday the 26th through, I guess, the Sunday the 28th or Saturday the 28th. So they do have the schedule posted. They do have where you can purchase tickets now for the various events. The two big Darby events are, I think Friday afternoon is when they're doing the presentation for your dad and the Dalton girls. And I think it's $20. Might be $30 for the ticket.
I will see about, I don't know.
One of those anyways.
I'm back.
I don't have anything to do with it.
I'm back.
That's good,
Darby,
right?
Darby, you need to brace yourself too, because Ed Hinton is also on the guest list. So just be prepared.
Ed Hinton.
Wow, that That would be worth the price of
the
admission.
$20.
That would be worth the $20 right there.
Okay, I'm back now. All right.
There we go. Oh, and we got the
right.
Williamsburg Festival, the 10th, now that just got announced. So that
What's
would be
that?
Yeah, that isn't until that's November, I think.
November. Okay.
Yeah, you have
Anyway.
the Texas in October, and then you have the Williamsburg
Oh, I'm
in
going to be in
November.
Plano, Texas in November.
Cowboy Jubilee in October.
That's
Isn't
San
it
Angelo,
nice to be
isn't it?
getting out and going places?
It is so exciting. It's so exciting. I'm going to London at the end of July for the big convention there. So
End of July.
that one's an alien. So,
have they
well, it's
dropped-
not, but huh?
Have they dropped the quarantine?
Yes. I guess so. Well, they're hoping, I guess, by the end of July.
Yeah, because I don't think they have yet, because my daughter's still in New Zealand. My daughter's still in Switzerland. And anyway.
Well, this will be the third time they've changed it. So, but I hear they're unmasking and everything, but this is until the very end of July. So we have another month in there.
And I'm very excited, end of August, by the end of August in Kanab outside in beautiful Utah, that'll be great. I can't wait for that. All right, let's go. This is very good. I'm
enjoying this episode. I didn't realize I was quite so fetching.
Well, you're quite spunky too. You're putting him in his place if he gets out of hand. I like that.
I have fabulous skin. I had no idea.
And hair. Your hair is really nicely.
Yes, it was very nice, and that was all mine. It wasn't a wig.
There we go.
It was all my hair.
I love it. All right.
So you're coming back for the end? You're coming back at the end, Veronica?
We'll see you in the end. I know you had a commitment.
Yes, I'll just pick it up tomorrow.
Okay, there we go. Thanks.
Okay, so this last segment is about 22 and a half minutes, and it'll play all the way through the credits. So
all right, but no, that's fine. I can just pick it up after. Somebody has to drive me anyway, so I'll make them go by the pharmacy.
What do you see?
Everybody's dancing, Paul. Everybody's having a good time. Especially the young folks.
A christening. That's what a housewarming is like, Marnie. A christening. Like welcoming a newborn child into the world.
I see that boy David and that pretty Jemima.
Why, Mr. Kravik, what are you doing standing there? Come on in and join the housewarming.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Boone.
There's punch for the gentlemen, punch for the ladies, and help yourself to the food.
I'll get around to it, ma'am. But first, I'd like to know who's my host.
The Tolsons. They're sitting right over there.
Oh, thank you. I'll just pay my respects.
Enjoy yourself.
Marnie?
Like Kravik, Mr. Tolson. I'm just sitting down to congratulate my host and wish him the best.
Thank you, Mr. Kravik.
This is certainly a sight and a joy to behold. Everybody having pleasure here in the wilderness. It's a sure sign of times to come.
That's just the way I feel, friend. A sign of the good times to come.
I'm just sorry Dan Boone ain't here. I rode all this way to shake his hand.
Folks owe a lot to him.
Yes, sir, that they do. I understand you're a clockmaker, Mr. Tolson.
That I am. And I'm opening a shop right here in Boonesboro. That's my faith in this country.
Well, that's all well and good. Meanwhile, a man's got to live. Just what do you plan to do until you get some business?
I'll be all right, Mr. Kravik. I'll be all right.
Will you now?
I got money. Saved all my cash for a rainy day. I can take care of myself for quite a time.
Well, now, I'm glad, Mr. Tolson. Yes, I'm sure glad. I just come over to offer my best.
Marnie?
Yes, Paul?
We had a chat. Pleasant chat.
Well, thank you, Mr.
Kravik. This is my daughter, Marnie, Mr. Kravik.
Well, the pleasure's all mine, man.
Oh, that's for the grown-ups. This is for ladies and young ones.
Oh, well, I didn't want any just the same. Thank you. I think I'll have a taste of that.
Oh, but it's not for young ones.
Do I look like a young one?
Oh, it's a bit sharp, but warming as it goes down. But it's not for you.
All right, everybody, come on, gather around now. We're going to have a square dance. Come on. Hurry up. That's it.
Have you been inside the cabin?
Here we go.
Oh, not since this morning.
Oh, come on. I want to show you something.
And now, 1, 2.
They've been together all evening.
Could be they're in love.
They just met yesterday.
I felt the same way 1 hour after I met Dad.
Could be something else, you know.
What's something else?
Could be taking advantage of her.
But they're marvelous.
It's like a fairy tale world, isn't it?
They sure fascinate me.
Oh, it's such a pretty cabin, isn't it?
Well, it looks like it can keep out cold and rain forever.
It's because it's a home, and it's meant for people who love each other. Oh, it's what I want, David. More than anything in the world, it's what I want. Oh, it smells so new. And it ought to be for people beginning new. Have you ever heard of First Smoke?
What?
Oh, it's got a special meaning.
And what's that?
Well, when a couple build their first home, and it's all ready for living in, they make their first fire and watch the smoke.
To see if the chimney works?
No. If the smoke goes straight up, well, it means they'll be healthy and happy and have lots of children. But if the smoke fills the cabin, they'll always be quarreling and never have any little ones. The smoke's going straight up.
Where'd you hear all this? From the Indians?
Yes, it's Indian talk, but it's true.
But this isn't a house for young people.
It's just about the right size. Small enough for me to take care of, and large enough if we ever have any...
Jemima.
Oh, I can see it all now. I'd wake up early in the morning and make him his breakfast and send him on his way. In the evening, the place would be shining and children's faces washed, all waiting for him to come home.
How quickly this all has happened.
Oh, don't you see it in the smoke, David?
Listen to me, Jemima.
Don't you want it all to come true?
It can't.
Why not?
Well, I'm wrong for you.
Well, these clocks, at least they can tell the truth. I can't even do that.
Oh, that's nonsense.
Jemima, you don't know anything about me or about my past.
But it's not the past I'm interested in. It's the future.
Jemima.
Now you listen to me. True, we've just only met, but I know how we feel about each other. Even if you haven't said it yet, I know. I'm sure.
But...
Did you hear me? I said I'm sure.
Jemima.
No, ain't that pretty?
How dare you come sneaking up on us?
Your ma wants you.
Anybody with the slightest good manners at all wouldn't come.
I said your ma's looking for you.
You better go.
But...
Go on, I'll see you later.
At least you could have knocked on the door. Well, aren't you coming?
Later.
Now listen here, Jericho Jones. If you've got any ideas, I mean, if anything's going to happen, you've got no right whatsoever.
Nothing's gonna happen, Jemima. You go on outside. Do you want to talk to me?
Yeah, outside, in the woods.
All right. What's that for?
Just in case you don't answer my questions right.
What questions?
About Jemima.
Just what are my intentions toward her?
Yeah, you catch on real quick.
Well, I hope you do too, because my answer's none of your business.
Now listen, I'm not gonna let you lead her on, so you answer me, you hear?
I repeat, my feelings toward Jemima are absolutely private and of no concern of yours. I'm sure your heart's in the right place, but you're stupid, do you know that?
Get up.
Look, I'm not gonna fight you over Jemima.
She don't mean very much to you, does she?
You're Jemima's friend.
Then I got your answer. You're a sneak sneaking around a young, innocent girl, leading her on. Get out of this settlement. By sunup tomorrow, I want you 50 miles from here.
He sure laid you out.
What do you want?
What was it all about?
Why don't you go ask him?
Hey, you're kind of edgy, ain't you? He must hit pretty hard.
I asked you what you wanted.
For you, partner. I've been looking for you. I got something's gonna make us both rich.
What?
Mm-hmm. You should have found out about it yourself. That old man Tolson's carrying a bag of money on him, gold. His life savings now. He is our Pickens boy.
He's not mine.
Meaning?
I'll give it to you plain. I've done a lot of raw things in my life, cheated, stolen, but I can't do it to that old man.
Oh, I see. You're getting principles, huh? All of a sudden.
Call it what you will.
Oh, boy. You really believe you could ever lead some different kind of life?
There won't be any kind of life for you if you try it.
That ain't nice. Now you're even starting to figure you'd be a match for old Mike, huh?
Anytime. You know something? I'm gonna stick with you all night just in case you get any ideas.
That's a good idea, boy. Yeah. You know, partner, you're grown into one fine man. Yeah? One fine man.
Well, good morning, Mr. Krivik.
Good morning, Mr. Kravik.
I see you're headed someplace.
Marnie's driving me into the settlement to pick up some supplies.
Oh, well, I'm going that direction, Mr. Tolson. I'd be glad to drive you there and back.
Why, thank you. That would be a kindness. Marnie's got an awful lot to do here.
I'd sure be grateful to you, Mr. Kravick. You can leave your horse here. I'll take good care of it.
Well, sure, that's a good idea, thank you. Well, sooner started, sooner there.
We got a big list of things to get, Mr. Kravick. You sure you won't mind?
Mind? Why, no, Mr. Tolson, it'll be a pleasure. A real pleasure. And don't you worry, pretty lady. I'll take good care of you.
You're going mighty fast, Mr. Kravick.
I'm in a hurry, Mr. Tolson. I'm always in a hurry.
That's because you're young. Old fella like me, going slow has benefits.
When I find the right place up ahead, I'll let you rest a spell. Yes, sir. Quite a spell. Ah!
You see Mike Kravick?
Well, sure, he was just here. He's driving Mr. Tolson into the settlement.
To the settlement?
It's a kind thing to do. People sure help people in these parts. He left his horse here. David? David, nothing's wrong.
Mr. Kravick, what's wrong?
Nothing's going to be wrong, Mr. Tolson. It's me, David Ellis. Mike, I don't sleep so good.
Guess I should have made sure you did.
You should have. Put down those reins to get off that wagon.
I can't do it, boy. Not till I get what I'm after.
What is it? Will you tell me what it is, David?
He wants your money.
No. No.
Yes.
It's all right, Mr. Dawson. It's all right now. I have to find out who I am, what I am, and not just for myself.
But you can find that all out here.
That'd be too easy. The people here are good, honest, and it wouldn't work. I have to go back to that other wilderness.
The cities.
The cities, where it all started, where the temptation is.
Why?
See if I can stand up to it.
Oh, no, David, please, no.
I've got to, Jemima. It's the only way I can give any kind of lasting meaning to my life.
That'll take time. A long time.
Maybe it will. But Jemima, if it works out, I want you to remember one thing. I know the way back.
You think he'll come back?
Perhaps. One thing's certain, though. When her father returns home, he's going to find a different Mima. She's no longer the little girl he knew. Dan's in for a surprise.
Daniel Boone was a man, yes, a big man, with an eye like an eagle and as tall as a mountain was he. Daniel Boone was a man, yes, a big man. He was brave, he was fearless, and as tough as a mighty oak tree. From the coonskin cap on the top of old Dan to the heel of his rawhide shoe, the ripplingest, roaringest, fightingest man the frontier ever knew. Daniel Boone was a man, yes, a big man, with an eye like an eagle and as tall as a mountain was he. Daniel Boone was a man, yes, a big man. What a boon, what a doer, what a dream come a truer was he.
What happened to the kiss? You don't suppose they edited it out? Or is this like Nightmare Before the Sun where it's all implied and we're just... Because he almost kissed her in the cabin, but they didn't quite kiss. I thought they got interrupted. Did I miss something?
They didn't show a kiss, did they?
Maybe it's because he was too racy.
You were watching for it, Ginger. It's my sister. Part of that.
Well, she built it up so good. Why not?
So where the hell was the kiss?
I know.
Did he come back and do another show? Did he? Or did they cut before remember in the cabin when I went to kiss him? And then they sort of cut? Maybe
they thought it was just too racy, so they...
Yeah, maybe they were trying to make...
but I kept waiting for the damn thing. I even bit my lip there at the end, and I thought, well, maybe he turns around and comes back. But I remember shooting it.
I did it 5 times. Come on. They could have used one of them.
Maybe that was in his contract.
But I thought it was in the forest. I thought it was outside. I didn't think it was in the cabin. Is this the only show he ever did?
Darby?
Darby's darling question.
Well, yeah, what picture are you going to give him, Darby, to bribe him to give you the answer on that one?
Well, we'll have to give him one of Veronica there, and at least one that we're in.
I wouldn't do this one with the mystery brother.
The mystery brother, yes. But I mean, it's so weird. Now, my sister said that there were a couple of pictures with me and Fabian that were on the Instagram. They did not come up on your thing.
Do you have them on yours, Ginger, that you can share the pictures of her and Fabian?
I don't think I think I sent them to. So when I sent that email to you, did that go to you or did that go to your sister?
No, I guess she put them on the Instagram. She must have sent them to her, but they weren't on my. I went down, scrolled all the way down to the bottom, and I didn't see any pictures. So there were pictures of me and Fabian?
Yes.
Well, I never saw
It's
them.
posted on your, was it Twitter? Wherever you had made the announcement about tonight to your fans. Maybe your sister did that then.
Go to Darby's Darlings and Dudes.com and you will see.
They'll be on there? Darlings, okay, Darby's Darlings and Dudes.
So right now, maybe
a lot of
one
words.
of those loops that are.
Is it Darlings or Darlings?
Darlings.
Darlings. Trust me, there's no other list that's got a similar name. Let me see if I can find it on the list.
There's a few Darbys out there.
I know, dudes. There's a few dudes.
I would have
to great Lebowski. Okay, all right. I'll check it out because I haven't seen them. That might be a good one to get a couple of those printed up and take them to.
Well, there's a shot of. I remember one of the shots is when you first meet the old couple. It's like that reverse shot where the two of you are standing next to each other,
Really?
and then there's another one where you're like in each other's arms, which must have been a publicity shot.
Yes, I guess it was.
And the funny thing is, I have a picture of him and me in my book, and I'm the one with the shirt off.
What?
He had kind of coiffed hair for that period, didn't he? Yes, it was like the feathered look. It was interesting, but he was actually good.
So he was good, and you were wonderful. And so let me ask you,
did his own stunts falling off of that.
Here you go. These are the pictures, Veronica. I'll show you what I had posted. Hold on a second.
Let me put my glasses on.
There's one of them.
Oh, wow. I've never seen these.
Well, that's the one and then here's the other one. That one.
Oh, see, I'm kissing him there.
There you are. And it is in
there I am. I'm kissing him. So
maybe all the kissing was for the publicity and not actually in the episode.
Well, no, maybe it was in the episode, and because of the tongue job, they had to cut it.
Yeah.
Probably your expression of surprise, like, what the
hell? I seem to be rather relaxed through the show. So
you did a great job.
In Israel in Love that, we had to come back another day and shoot it because they said, a frontier kid shouldn't be kissing that good. I think they left the kiss in that.
That is so weird. I assumed it was in there because I remember shooting it.
Maybe they were trying to make it easier for Pat too, because
I don't know.
I gotta say, now let me ask you both ladies a question. Let me ask the darlings a question. I would love their response to this. Did the age difference bother you? Now,
so if he was 22, supposedly, that would have been 6 years older. But
well, that's what he was in real
older.
life. That's what the
They
Fabian's age was actually 22.
well, and he said, I've already seen 20, so that was it.
So he's
And
supposed
you
to
were
be about
17. Yeah.
But the thing is it's supposed to be in the frontier, and back then, weren't
They were
girls getting married
married
at 13 and 14? I mean,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Some cases,
Jemima was going,
Mary
hey.
Lou Lewis, didn't he marry?
she was an old maid at 16.
Jemima was going, I could use
I
some
was
help
really
around the
pushing
house
for it,
now.
too. I really wanted to set up that house. I wanted everything.
You wanted
You were
that
a
cabin.
little pushy there,
I wanted
okay?
that cabin.
A
The
little
hell with the old
pushy.
man and the clocks.
We're talking the second date. You were
Fabulous
talking about
clocks. I love
kids.
that little clock with the man with the. Oh, that was great. Where did they find those props? Oh, wow, those were cool clocks.
All right, we got to vote for one that says age didn't bother her. Tammy says
Okay.
age difference didn't bother her. Of course,
Okay.
you're talking to a woman who has a husband who's 15 years older than me, so age definitely didn't bother me.
But did you meet him when you were 17? I mean, that is the thing. The older you get, the bigger the window is there. Because, yeah.
Up another
I
vote,
think
Pamela
you're-
Pavkovich, the age difference didn't bother me.
Well, that's good, but because it didn't seem to be that big of a difference. I mean,
All right, so here's the big question, Veronica.
yeah.
So when
Well,
you
let me put
finally
my
did
phone
have a
on.
boyfriend and you started kissing him and stuff, was like, yeah, it's not as good as Fabian.
Well, the next time I was kissed like that was at my prom, my high school prom. And I was supposed to go, are you ready for this? With Jan Michael Vincent. And at the last minute, he canceled out because Kurt Russell, my sister, Jan Michael Vincent, and myself did these magazine things. And they knew my prom was coming up. So I asked him if he'd go to my prom, and he said yes. Well, he canceled at the last minute. So I ended up going with this other guy that I didn't really want to, but I'd already made my dress. It was a halter top. It was velvet. It was, I mean, and then he kissed me, and it just wasn't the same. It wasn't.
Yeah, no.
I thought it was. I thought it was kind of gross, actually.
I mean, come on, look, you warmed up on the Beaver, Jerry Mathers.
I warmed up.
And then
I had Fabian.
And then Fabian was, it's kind of hard to go in the real world.
It is, especially when he was a big rock star at that time. He was quite the catch to get.
Yeah.
Special guest star. Can you believe? Now, what did Robert Logan do? Had he been in a lot of stuff?
I think he's still with us too. I know.
But I mean, his billing was after Pat Blair.
Yeah, well, they were grooming him to come in and do stuff, and I think after you left the show because you wanted all that money. All that.
I was pissed off about my billing too.
I really don't like my opening shot, okay, of me waving on the rock. I mean, of all the shots, that to me is, anyway, we won't go into
You were on there all those years. I wasn't.
I know, because
I can see why Pat could get a little PO'd, because that wasn't the only person. They had another guy, his name was something O'Rourke, I remember, and he had red hair, Bill O'Rourke or something like that. They brought him in as a love interest, and they had, I think I eventually got together with Logan.
Well, I know you
Bob
and
Logan.
Yeah, they made that
into a thing.
Uh-huh.
So I can see why she was a bit PO'd.
But again, it's like, the guys can't come into town trying to pick up Becky Boone.
Jemima, excuse me, Jemima Boone.
No, Becky, the wife.
Oh,
Yeah.
Becky, the wife.
Yeah,
No,
you don't.
she was. Where was Fest during this? This was like a whole show without Fest.
He was on the road, getting
He
twirled
was on
around
the
by
road,
the
I know,
horse.
but I mean, yeah, I know. Wow.
Only one episode. Thank you, Pamela. Only one episode with Fabian.
Oh, well, so then they cut the kiss.
When and why will Veronica be in Plano?
Plano. I will be in Plano November 12th and 13th or 11th and 12th. Should I go look it up in my book of November?
They can go, you probably have it on your website, right? A
Yeah, and
calendar?
Tom Skerritt's going too. So it's
Fun.
Tom Skerritt and myself.
Okay. Have any stories about him you want to share?
Tom, my sweet Tom. He's just lovely. He's absolutely lovely. I really like Tom. He's just a great guy. We had fun in England, and I see Tom. We always do shows together, and he's just a sweetie. And actually, I had invited Japhet Kotto, and then he passed. He passed away a couple of months ago, which was kind of a shocker. Because I looked it up, and the last time Tom and I were in London, and Japhet was trying to come, but his mother-in-law had passed away, and he lives in the Philippines, and so I didn't see him there, but I did see him at the Hollywood show. I think you were there at the Hollywood show, and Japhet came. We were trying to get it was Tom and myself and Japhet, and we were trying to get oh God, I shouldn't be drinking. He just passed away tue. I mean, they've all passed away. It's just so weird. Tom and I are left in Sigourney. Ian Holm just passed away at the beginning of the year. I mean, when they did the memoriam at the Oscars this year, it was so weird. The first three people, I mean, first was Ian Holm, and the third person was Japhet Kotto. I mean, I lost so many people in that last year. My friend Linda Gersage, who was the hairdresser for Robert Kennedy in his times, and Witches of Eastwick, and was a dear friend. She just passed this last year. I mean, I was sitting there looking at these people, and I thought, I knew like 10 of the people that had passed away this year.
And I was looking at Pedro, and of course, Johnny that we just lost, and
Johnny Crawford. I know Johnny too. Yeah.
Don Wells was a shocker. And anyway, we won't talk about that. That's why we're sitting here drinking.
Oh, here's some questions. All right, I've got my glasses on. Good to see you again, Veronica. Inquiring minds want to know what it was like kissing Fabian. I think we've already,
I think you covered that.
Way off the topic, who's Stacy Schaefer? Way off the topic, but I'd like to hear some alien stories. Oh.
I bet you have one or two of those.
Hi, Stacy. Are you still with us? What alien stories did you want to hear?
Well, let's do a good positive one.
A good positive one. Oh my God, the set was claustrophobic. Everything was connected. I mean, brilliant sets. I mean, it was a great cast. It was fun, but very, very difficult and very hard. It was a lot of sweat, let me tell you. Anyway, Stacy, if you have any specific questions. Oh, here's another Stacy. I had to wait until my 40s to feel old enough to handle Alien. Wow. Hi, you were in your 40s before you were old enough to watch Alien. Okay, my son was 11. I remember it took him 3 mornings to watch it. And then once he saw it, then he goes, oh, this is cool. But he stopped, like once it got to the lunch scene, He just sort of said, "Oh, okay, I'm done now." I mean, it was very sweet, but it did take him 3 mornings to get through it. So,
And what do they think?
He was 11 and you were in your 40s, but I'm glad you made it through, Stacy.
And how is that child today? He doesn't have any trauma.
He's great. He's great. My son is Dakota. He came out for my birthday and flew out with his girlfriend, Sierra. And he's doing really well. And he lives in Florida. So he's there with Ginger in the heat. But I don't know if he's lost any power.
How did I not know that we both have a Dakota?
I know. My Dakota is going to be 30 in December.
Mine's older than yours.
Wow.
So there you go.
There you go. But I didn't know you had a Dakota. We thought it was
such
an original name, Dakota, because my son, he has American Indian in him. And so my friend Margaret Whitten is the one who suggested the name Dakota. And then we found out John Johnson had a Dakota. After we
Melanie and my wife were shopping at the same place when they were very pregnant. I can't remember the name of the shop there on Rodeo, Beverly Hills. But they were both very pregnant, and they started talking about what are you going to name the kid and everything else. And my wife said to me, "Oh, well, we're thinking Dakota." That sounds like a good one. So
and they named their daughter Dakota.
Right. Ours was a boy, theirs is a girl, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's weird because, I mean, nobody was named Dakota at the time. I mean, it didn't seem,
Probably not the right question to ask, but I want to know how Veronica liked working on Supernatural. I sure loved her in that episode.
Oh, there were 2 episodes. No, there was 1 episode. Was it 1 episode? It was 1 episode. Yeah, but it was fun. I had a great time. Those guys are really cool. And it was the weirdest thing because I got there and I had 3.5 hours of sitting in immigration. And then I had also done I was to do a Sabrina. And so I had 2 wardrobe fittings after I got out of my 3.5 hours of wardrobe fitting. Customs.
Yeah.
Then I went to my wardrobe fitting for Sabrina. And then I went for my wardrobe fitting for Supernatural, which I had to start the next day or vice versa. By the time I got back, they put me up what I thought was going to be a hotel. I got in at 9:00 at night or 9:30, and it was an apartment with no food, nothing. So I was like so exhausted. It turned, I had slipped on the escalator going before I even set off to go to Canada on my way to the airline. And I re-broke my hip, which I did not know. And I worked on a broken hip for 5.5 weeks. I did Supernatural and Sabrina. Oh, God, I cannot. I don't know. And then I went to McKillen, Texas afterwards because I had committed to doing a high school thing. I was in tears by the time I got home. They had to redo my entire socket. But when by the time I got into the hotel, this apartment, I was in agony. I said, where can I get some food? So I got a taxi and I said, just take me someplace. And we were driving down to a restaurant. And then the taxi cab driver says, which was like 1.5 blocks from my apartment, that is a fabulous restaurant, but it's quite expensive. I said, it was the Blue Water Cafe. I said, I don't care. I'm going in there. I walked in and it was this wonderful restaurant. And I had 2 martinis. I sat at the bar. I had a wonderful conversation with a professor who was there for their annual meeting. They changed different places, and this was in Vancouver. And then I had my bay scallops on top of spinach with some Parmesan crust, and it was exquisite. And then I went back and collapsed, and I think I had an 8 o'clock call in the morning. And I don't know, but I got up and I went to work. I didn't unpack or anything. And I was talking to one of the guys, and they were so cool. They sent me a wine glass, a bottle opener, and a fabulous bottle of wine that they left in the dressing room because it was too late to buy it. And they were
food.
They were sans food, but there I was. And it was, they were terrific. They're really a funny group of people. I mean, these two guys, they were just terrific. And I know they were together for like 17 years. And they, Texas Walker, I think.
Talk about a series that wouldn't die, supernatural.
Yeah, it was just bizarre.
Even the writer wrote it in. No, we're dead. He's going to hell.
Well, I played a character who was blinded in one eye, some other lady, and I played her later in life. It was a different actress, and I'm playing her. But it was really fun, and I finished that, and then it was so bizarre because then Sabrina was in the same apartment, and but I had to move 2 floors down because the 11th floor was Supernatural, and the 9th floor was Sabrina. And then I came back and I had to have a hip replacement again. They had to make a bigger ball put in. I know, it was ridiculous. I can't even believe that I worked for 5.5 weeks on this hip. But I did. That's a trooper for you.
Were you walking with a cane?
I wasn't walking with a cane. I didn't have a cane at that point. I did have a back brace, which I had because I'd had a hip surgery. So, but I mean, it was fine, but I re-broke my hip. It was just the weirdest thing.
And you're old school like me. You grew up in the business.
Well,
the show must go on.
Yes, it must go on. I did that, and then I did Sabrina, 5.5 weeks. And the doctor said to me, "I don't know how you put up with this. I guess I have a very high tolerance for pain because, you know, it's the weirdest thing. You start working, and you forget that." Except that there was one point where I was supposed to get onto the floor with this diagram that was grown on the floor, and then the head. And I said, "I'm sorry, if I bend down, I won't get up." At least that part. So they ended up doing the blood stabbing and everything while I stood up. I didn't say to anybody, "Well, I'm in terrible pain, and I know if I get down there, I won't be able to get up." But so they just did it standing up. I just said, I don't think I would be comfortable getting down and coming up. It wouldn't look so good. So everybody was accommodating. It was great. It was a wonderful show. They were fun. And Sabrina was great. She was a great character too. And I've been just really lucky with these fabulous characters lately.
You said you took that big break until you were over 18. What was your first show? What was your first show coming back?
I did these Criminal Minds. Remember, there was a series. There was not Criminal Minds. It was, they had 3. There was one with Robert Stack, one with, there was, what were they called?
Movie of the Weeks?
They were movies of the week, and they had like a rotation of 3 major actors, and they were crime stories. And that was one of the ones that I did.
Danica Colombo?
Yeah, no, it was. Where did you go?
I just showed up on the set, okay? They had to do my hair.
I did a Bold Ones. I did the next one. I did.
That was fun. I got to have a drug. I kept trying to break the Israel, all-American kid. And I went and I got to play a drug addict on the Bold Ones and have the scene and throw the pills all around and I remember I had
good shows, but
yeah.
Boy, I mean, I was like 21, I think, when I did those.
started on a roll? Because once you
Started
got
on a roll, and then I started working again, and then everything dried up again. It was like the weirdest thing, these cycles. So I ended up, I had gotten married and I was now divorced, and I was taking these acting classes with Jack Garfine. And I did that for like 3.5 years. And of course I didn't get any work. So I decided, well, I'm British. I'm going to move over to England. And I moved over to England in 1975. And I had done a couple of, I was a waitress at a hotel, or at a restaurant called Yellow Fingers. And I got to Europe 3 times, and I got to know some people, and I just decided I was going to move there. And I did. I packed up and I decided I'm going to give it a year. And in about my 10th month, I went on this interview for that movie, In Search, with Richard Dreyfuss. And I ended up getting it. I mean,
did they track you down in England, or were they casting?
No, I went on, I got myself, I don't know how I did this. I went on interviews. I went and looked at local stuff. I auditioned for Rocky Horror Show. I didn't get Rocky Horror Show because I didn't have the voice for Janet. I wanted to be Magenta. I didn't have the voice for Janet, but what was hysterical was the producer says, here, and they brought in wine and they started giving me a glass of wine. It got better as I went along. They offered me Old Calcutta. But I decided, no, I didn't want to do Old Calcutta. They took me down and I saw the play and I thought, well, that's cool, but I just really, it's not my cup of tea. I'm a serious actress. The first week there, it was so bizarre. I got a job. It was when Trans World Airlines, TWA, was a big thing. And they did these like promos a half an hour before you land. Here is an American who is in London, and her father's coming, and they haven't talked for quite some time. And so they're getting back together, and I give them a tour of places that are fascinating. We went to like the smoking shop, you know, the whatever the famous cigarette players or something like that. We went down there, and then we went to Big Ben, and we did an entire tour. And I was the American, and I don't think it ever played, but it was fun shooting it. We went to all these different places.
Maybe
and that's where I met
Maybe you just weren't on the airplane when they played it.
I have no idea. Maybe they did show it. That would be interesting to find out. Whether
here's something else that we haven't.
Dudes and Darlings, guys. See if they ever showed it.
Here's something else we have in common.
On that interview, I met this woman, and she said to me, well, I'm off to do a series in Manchester, so why don't you take my place? Because I rent a room in this house in Chelsea. So I said, oh, okay, that sounds cool. And then I ended up renting this place with Bob Lloyd, and Robert Lloyd, was in Midsummer Night's Dream, and he was Puck. And and I had met him when the entire Shakespeare company had been in LA. It was like the weirdest thing. And all of a sudden I'm living at his house, and I end up getting inserts there at the last. God, the sun's coming in weird, isn't it?
It's giving you a halo.
Yeah, I got a striped effect. Maybe I'll turn off my ring. Oh, no. So I've only had one cocktail, and I don't know what anybody's talking about. And that's how I ended up. I ended up going on this interview, and I had the worst case of the flu. And I went in and I met John Byram. I remember going in and doing this, meeting him. And oh my God, I was like so sick, but somehow I got through the script. And the next thing I know, I'm going to turn this way. The next thing I know,
there you go.
I get a callback. So I go in for the callback, And it was the weirdest thing because in this movie, I end up talking like this. I mean, I talk like this the whole movie. And it was like one of those things where I couldn't get it out of my, it just, every time I would try to be serious, by the time I was finished, I'd be talking. It was ridiculous. Anyway, they give me I went down and I remember it took me forever. I had to take the tube someplace and then I had to walk miles. And I remember wearing this antique shirt. I had this little antique shirt and this pair of overalls. And that's what I went on this last callback with. And the next thing I know, I have to meet Richard Dreyfuss and go in and meet Richard Dreyfuss. So I go in and meet Richard, and we worked on the scene, I mean, seemed like an hour. And then everybody came in and watched it. And then I ended up getting the part.
It wasn't the naked scene, was it?
Yes, it was. I was a porn queen, and he was directing porn. He was a big time director. It was in the 30s, and he was a big time director.
I know Ricky really well. I mean, he's a very method actor. I mean,
method. Ricky's wonderful. But have you never heard of this? This movie he did, and he had done Jaws.
Shocked.
But Jaws hadn't come out yet. And we actually saw Jaws in the theater there, sitting in the screening room before it ever came out. And he called his Meyer Mishkin, who was his agent, and he says, I am doing this movie. I think he referred all of it. He just loved this movie, and he is wonderful in it. It's a wonderful movie. We shot it like a play from beginning to end. It was shot in 14 days. We rehearsed for 3 weeks.
And you shot it all in England?
We shot it in England. Yeah, at Lee Studios.
All right, I'm gonna have to watch
inserts. You can rent it. They actually showed it a few years ago at the Egyptian Theater, and the theater was packed. And it just is, it's Jessica Harper and Stephen Davies and Bob Hoskins' first movie. He plays Big Mac. I think because we got.
I hope that's is that his porn name, Big Mac?
Big Mac. No, he was the producer who was producing the porn movies. And it was hysterical because we went to Paris, and it was at the Paris Film Festival. We won a silver medal at Berlin. But when we went to Paris and they showed it, it was really well received. They loved it in Paris. And then it was dubbed into German, and we went to Frankfurt. And the most hysterical thing, his character was Big Mac, and they had just gotten McDonald's over there. So every time I would refer to him as Big Mac, I was referred to as Big Hamburger. Oh, is the big grande hamburger? I was like, it was I started laughing so hard. I was peeing my pants. They had to take me out of the theater because I would go, big hamburger, gross hamburger. I kept calling him a gross hamburger. It was the most, I couldn't stand it. It was hysterical. Oh, it was so funny. And then we were in Germany, and they gave us, put us up in beautiful suites, and they gave us these boxes. And inside, you lifted up the lid, and inside was a smoked eel. The entire eel wound around in this box. Frankfurt was kind of interesting. So was Hamburg.
And how was the eel?
Gross hamburger. Oh, God almighty.
How was the eel? Was it?
I don't know. I just looked at it and stuck the lid back on. I wasn't that adventurous in 1976. So,
the other thing that you just mentioned, I didn't know we had this connection either, and not many people know this, but I'm sure we'll keep it just between you and me here since we're having a little, conversation.
All of these, we still.
I got asked to go to Japan to do the Rocky Horror Show.
You did?
Yes, but they wanted me as Rocky, so I had to come out in the diaper and everything, and be the creation. Yeah,
Well,
no.
I had seen Rocky Horror Show when Tim Curry did it, and I saw it at the Roxy.
At the Roxy.
I just thought, oh my God. So when I saw that there was a casting opening in London, I had to go and audition for Magenta. And what was so weird is the producer of that was who they offered me the other thing, Calcutta. I ended up sort of hooking up with Edward Burrell, who was one of the producers, and we went and actually watched some film. Tim Curry and the whole group, and we watched them do the Time Warp. I got to be on the set for the Time Warp.
That was
really
great.
cool.
You know, I really don't think the movie had the energy and I saw it at the Roxy too, and I was dragged to it. It was my sister's husband's bachelor party, and we all took limo, and they said, we're going to the Rocky Horror Show. And Ginger doesn't like to hear this, especially, I don't like horror, you know, I don't like to be scared. I'm like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. Of course, they dragged me to it. Oh, I fell in love. They danced on the tables, and there was meatloaf, and
I know it was absolutely incredible experience. And but you know, it's interesting because when they did the movie, due to censorship, they couldn't show Tim Curry doing things where he could undulate and all of that. So they shot him from like the waist up, and you're going, wait a minute. I mean, that's not what the movie's about.
Haven't we seen Elvis?
It
Come
was
on.
edited so bizarre in order to be able to be, you know.
Well, and I just think it was slower paced. The songs were a little bit slower. I mean, there was, and of course, the Roxy's very famous on the Sunset Strip. And it's a smaller room, so to have all that talent and all that energy,
and
something that hadn't been done like that before. And like I said, they walked down the tables, they were in the crowd, that was
Tim
great.
Curry,
I don't know how many times I went back to see it.
He was so cool. He was so cool. He's really great.
I'm just now getting into the screen test horror world.
You?
Okay, Scream Test wasn't really horror. It was more of a thriller.
I'm looking at the flyer here. She has blood all over her. Come on, you're right.
Yeah, but that didn't happen in the movie. We
Well,
never
it's kind of like my kiss. Where the hell did that kiss go? I remember it distinctly.
I was going to say your imagination apparently made it much better than it was.
And aren't you glad that Ginger has the picture to prove that yes, there
I
was a
I
kiss?
want that picture. I want it. If you have that picture, would you send me a copy?
Speaking of sending pictures, Veronica, Angela sent me pictures that your dad took on the set of me and Fess, and she was great. She's like, "Oh, let's clean this out. You want to see him?" And there's such great pictures. I was so
Well,
happy.
you know, it was weird because my mom was with Angela because she was on Danny Thomas show at the time. No, Lost in Space. So my mom would take Angela to work, and my dad or my aunt were the ones who came with me to the set.
So they couldn't work. Did they hold down a job, or was just a two working?
Well, maybe it wasn't my dad. I had another woman that used to take me around, and Sherman, and my aunt used to go with me. She was with me on the Birds. My aunt, who used to take me to Daniel Boone because my dad was working at Rocketdyne. My dad had a job. My mom was with my sister.
Yeah, well, and once we got dropped off behind those gates and stuff, but you know, that's something I would love to see happen, is where they pay the parents or the guardians, whoever's watching the kids, that they actually pay them, since they're supposed to be within earshot and eyesight of their child at all times, because you can't work. So then you start taking money from the kid, and then that becomes a whole family.
Well, that's why they had that law, you know. So.
The Coogan law, true.
Coogan
Right,
law.
but it's still, the parents don't get paid and they are supposed to be there and they have to be there. And we're not going to get political with that now.
No, we're not. We're good. Do you know that my dad went down to Sacramento because my sister, when she was on Danny Thomas show, they took taxes out of your paycheck, but kids couldn't collect unemployment. So my dad was one of the fathers or mothers that went to Sacramento and fought for unemployment for children.
Nice.
And my sister was one, and I were one of the first people. And then all of the Mouseketeers were in line. We'd see all the Mouseketeers in line at unemployment. But my dad fought for unemployment. And the whole thing was, you're taking taxes out of their paychecks, so they should be able to collect unemployment when they go on hiatus. And my dad was one of the people that fought for that.
And you remember that unemployment office right
I do, because we used to play unemployment.
With
we
the best.
used to play unemployment. Isn't that sick? We would get extra books. We'd ask them for extra books. We'd have our little those little baskets they used to have. And then we'd have people fill in what jobs they had done and come in. And then we'd have Monopoly money and we'd give them Monopoly money. I remember we used to get cash.
Yeah. And there was no thing. Remember, there was no, it was just over the counter.
You go in.
And you saw everybody in Hollywood there.
Yeah.
And then the stuntmen came in. I think 3 or 4 stuntmen came in and, jumped over the table and robbed the whole place and stuff.
No.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember that.
Oh, yeah. And then they had to put up the walls and then it started looking more like a bank and everything.
Oh, wow. No, I was
That
a
used to be where you'd run into everybody at the end.
Yeah, my sister, I think she was 4.5, that's when she started Danny Thomas. So she was about 6 or 5 or 6, and I must have been 9 when we started collecting unemployment. But it was due to my dad and whoever these other people were. I don't know. Maybe somebody dudes and darlings can find out who the other people were. But no, that was in the 60s. My dad got unemployment for children.
That's, like your dad said.
And we loved it so much because you'd run into everybody and you were given these little books and you had to fill in what dates you worked and what dates you didn't.
And where you went to find work. Where you went to find work and how you looked for work.
We had to get work permits and go downtown to LA to get a work permit where they'd weigh you and measure you and decide what color eyes you had.
Did you used to go to the little sandwich shop on the corner there? They had the best like hoagie sandwiches.
Oh, we didn't eat that kind of food. My mother didn't like that kind of food.
Oh, okay. All right.
No.
All right.
A hoagie sandwich? You'd never even heard of a hoagie. No, we didn't eat those things. We ate the same thing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I can give you the list of what we ate. Mondays was leftovers from Sunday, which was either dried out chicken or some sort of a roast. And my dad, there was never enough of the roast left over because my mother used to stick everything in the 350 and 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and it came out at 5. Everything. An eye of the round was 6 pounds, shrank down. She goes, it doesn't even feed a family of 4. Well, no shit. It was gray and dried out. It was like a piece of shoe leather. My God. What was Tuesday? Tuesday night. I can't remember Tuesday because Wednesday was shepherd's pie. Thursday was usually lamb chops. Friday was either fish or pizza if we were lucky. Had to have fish on Friday. We were Catholic.
I'm sorry.
And I ended up when I became a teenager, I do all the cooking. Well, I was doing, before Daniel Boone, and I was in school. I had to come home and do the cooking. Yeah.
Well, we heard you say in Daniel Boone that you were a really good cook. Your mom had taught you well.
Yeah. I get told off. I remember being adventurous once with the sole, and I saw a recipe for sole Veronique. which was, is grapes and like a white sauce on top. So I thought, wow, this is cool. I'm going to make Sol Veronique. And my mother took one look at it and she goes, we don't like sauce. I said, and she didn't eat it. My dad ate it, but nobody else did. And there
Your
you
mom
have it.
was very health conscious.
My mother, well, she wasn't very adventurous as far as food went. Let's put it that way.
Mine was the exact opposite. I had to try everything. I was eating at sushi bars before that was a thing, and
Oh my God,
I had to at least try a
live
bite of
seafood?
it.
Oh God, no. But I love it. But again, I had to be an adult before I could try any of that stuff.
But you didn't before you kissed Fabian. My
Mhm.
dear, I think this has been fun. We could talk for hours.
I know, we have to go.
Might have to upgrade our program.
Oh my
here.
God, I have to walk the dogs. Okay.
I should too, actually. We're on for lunch. All right. Thank you.
Mwah. Bye,
Can't
guys.
wait to see you in
Thank
Kanab and
No,
give
well,
you real
let's do
hugs.
one of these before Kanab, just before we go to Kanab, because my sister was in Lost in Space and she couldn't be here today, but she's got a book coming out September 14th. So she said if we do one of these just before we go to Kanab, she'd love to come on and she could publicize her book.
Lost in Space, Danny Thomas show. I mean, how many
And the
other?
music.
Oh, that. I've heard of that one. Yeah,
You've got a connection to that one, Darby, sort of, kind of.
I do. I do.
Yes,
We all
we
do.
There was their Lederhosen. But you know what was so weird is we were shooting on 120th Century Fox lot on Western, and she was on the opposite lot doing Lost in Space on the Pico lot. So we have pictures of us. I mean, one end and the other,
We do. All right, because we
All right.
obviously have more
Love you.
stories to tell.
Bye.
Love you. Bye. Ginger,
Bye.
thank you as always. Everybody that
Goodbye.
stayed with
Thank
us.
you for coming. Sorry we didn't get to all your questions, but it was fun.
I do want to give one shout out, though, to Stephanie Canoon, who usually is on here. Congratulations. She had a baby girl today, 3:04 p.m., 7 pounds, 8 ounces. She's
Wow.
20 inches. Her name is Maria Hope.
What, not
So-
Israel or no?
What's that?
Not Israel or Veronica? Or
No. No, but she's usually one of our
Jemima.
darlings
Let's call
that's
her
usually
Jemima.
on here. And she
Jemima,
would
I
have been
haven't
here,
heard
but she's
any-
a little busy because she had a baby today. So.
I heard Jemima's. That's right. And there's a birthday. Oh, the girl, the lady that hit me up on Cameo, and I didn't even get back to her. I think it's her birthday today. So
Yeah, but
shout
you
out.
posted and she responded to your post on the page.
Yes, and I'm gonna get something off to her mom too. Anyway, that's our
Alrighty.
housekeeping. And next week we're not doing anything.
We're going to take a break because we've had too many of these in a row, just so everybody knows.
Oh,
I
you
have caught
See,
up.
I don't know. This is only my second one. But were there, let's do the choosing next time.
The
The
choosing.
choosing was my one where I was kidnapped by Indians.
Ah, yes.
Unless we
Okay.
can find the one that you actually do kiss Fabian because he does come back.
He does come back?
I don't know. We
No,
have to
somebody-
research it and find out because that seems awfully
right.
weird. You've never actually kissed him.
All right. Okay. Or the choosing was really good. I get rescued. I'm kidnapped by Indians.
Which
think
is
that's
the
from the
real
first
Daniel
season.
Boone story. that
Real
really
Daniel
happened.
Boone story. Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. I'll have to do my homework until we have the actual history there to
Oh no,
match it.
that's the very famous one where he ran out barefoot and tracked him down, and it's a great
Save
story.
your stories for that.
Well,
So
I don't
Veronica,
think-
you're going to have to come back a bunch. You're going to have to come
All
back
right,
for that
well,
one.
we
You're going to
can-
have to come back with your sister. We're just going to have you.
Well, I mean, but she could watch the choosing. We can do it all then.
There we go.
Maybe in the beginning of August.
Or we could watch a Lost in Space. Anyway,
All
bye
right.
guys.
Anyway,
Bye,
good night, everybody. Thank you for your patience. And
Okay,
Veronica, good
bye.
to see you.